code, anytime you want to adjust it, it has to go through the public hearing process. And sometimes with the sign code, it can be something a little more simple, like you're changing a size restriction or something like that. So it seemed to make sense to take it out. Since that sign code was rewritten, and that was done internally when it was done last, there have been some decisions before the Supreme Court that have really drastically affected the landscape on what municipalities can control and what they cannot when it comes to sign regulations. It's always been a little tricky since it is a freedom of speech type of regulation, because signs are considered protected speech in many instances. So that's why we were recommending going out and getting a consultant to deal with it, just because they can stay up to date on all the most recent decisions. Obviously, they're more aware of what other municipalities have done. It's a much smaller project than the recently completed zoning code. For that project, we had budgeted closer to $90,000. So this is obviously about 10% of that cost, and it is a faster time frame to get that completed. Ultimately, our goal is to get code that is content neutral. Basically, it will regulate the size, location, and maybe, and that's about it, really. That's pretty much the extent of what you can regulate, while still trying to make sure that any concerns with excessive signage or signage in the wrong places is still adequately adjusted. We are recommending going with Civitech since we were happy with them through the zoning code process, and they were very reasonably priced even when we went out for that project. So I guess that's why I am recommending that we move forward with consulting with Civitech for cost not to exceed $8,000.
Just one quick question, I guess more so for the viewing audience. What's the benefit of them writing it versus doing it in-house?
Again, at least from my perspective, being the staff person who would probably rewrite it, number one is just not being completely confident in that I fully understand the state Supreme and the Supreme Court decisions on it. And what that means is if it's written wrong and we are challenged on it, it could impact the city financially and obviously regulation-wise. So it's just trying to make sure that we do it right versus me doing it and then having to redo it when I didn't do it right.
After we got a bill for something.
Exactly. Yep.
I would just only comment that I think our experience with Civitech was very positive, and we found that they were substantially cheaper than any other ordinance full zoning rewrite project. I think consultant we would have been able to consult with. So I think in this one it seems like they're pretty cost effective, and they're probably the most local we're going to find, and they're out of the La Crosse area, and it seems like they've got a lot of experience under the belt. So I just had that from the planning commission experience and working with them for the last year and a half.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item number 3, review and consider for approval a proposal from Andres Medical Billing Limited to provide EMS billing services. It's from the fire department, right?
Yeah, from finance.
Finance and fire.
So, yeah, for the last 10 years, we have kicked back and forth, going back and forth to contracting out our EMS billing. I think with the rules and regulations for Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the complications of billing and the rules and regulations, it's time to seriously look at it. When I took over interim chief, it was pointed out that we were almost 16 weeks behind in billing from the date of initial service. From a standpoint of professionalism and being efficient, it's unacceptable. So billing got caught up. We got moved back in within 3-4 weeks of date of service. But we do run into issues when Diane's on vacation that we fall back again to that 8 to 10, 12 weeks behind in billing. And there's issues with denials and timeliness in appealing them. There's issues with co-pays and who's being billed properly. So we need to bill in a more timely and efficient fashion. So we recognize that there is some issues with billing, and so we look for 3 proposals. And Andres, LifeQuest, and EMS Building Management put in proposals. And with the proposal we got from Andre's Medical Billing at 4.5%, and you run the numbers on the collectibles, it just makes sense with the complication of Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance. And it's more than just billing, it's also the collections and the denials and the co-pays and making sure they're being done in a correct, proper fashion. If we were ever audited, I'm not saying we're gonna be in trouble, we're not doing nothing fraudulently, but we have to be on top of our game, and I'm not convinced that we're there right now. So we looked at it, I believe it's time to contract out EMS billing services. Most career departments that run EMS transport capabilities do utilize an outside firm to do EMS billing. So
I would concur with that. I mean, ever since I've been here, we're doing it in-house. I think there's been issues since I've been here, just as far as the timeliness. Right now, I think I ran the report, and we're about July 12th runs have gotten billed. So we're looking on 2 months lag. And I think our customers deserve better to get those bills into the system earlier and stuff. And AMRs, like their whole thing is once they get it from us, we just basically upload from our current software. 3 days, that bill is being processed, the 3 business days. It's one of those things where just with the Medicare, Medicaid, the payments, the postings, the secondary billings, what you can bill a patient for, what you can't, it's constantly changing. I think it's time that we make this move. It's just hard for us to keep up on what the current Medicare, Medicaid laws are constantly changing what they are. And also another thing is, it's not only like training our current personnel, but we have to have backup, so if someone goes on vacation that we have to, and it's very hard to train someone in that stuff. It's like up in my office where we take the collections, you have to have someone that's very familiar with the Medicaid, Medicare, how to code that, because it's not only when you get the payment, you get the explanation of benefits from Medicare, it's not only like posting a payment, but knowing what the write-off and what the patient responsibility is. And it's like, so if you bill someone for a Medicaid payment that they're not responsible for, you can get in trouble from that. And it's very complicated. We have Bonnie, our billing consultant, Bonnie, what's her last name?
Tulama.
She just comes in, 3 to 4 times a year, kind of comes through, coaches us, tries to train us on that stuff. It's very complicated, and it's that point of like all our comparables, no one's doing it in-house anymore just because of that liability that's out there, the complications, the ever-changing law, keeping up with it. And it's not only like training the people that you have, but you have to have someone trained that can step in when they're off or if you have turnover. And I don't understand it. I have to supervise the collections part of it. I don't understand it. It makes me uncomfortable as a supervisor to sit there and oversee an operation that I don't completely understand. So I don't even know if I don't understand it, how can I expect to supervise or know if someone is doing it properly? And I just think when you see the trend in career fire departments, this is all everyone outsources it just because of the complexities of it.
And like I was reading it, they basically just take a percentage of our collections,
Right.
and that's how this is financed then.
Yeah, 4.5% of what they collect.
Okay.
So they're obviously motivated. And actually,
They're motivated to be accurate.
yeah,
And get-
absolutely.
get
And
out.
it's like, I honestly, and I can't prove this, obviously numbers will prove it down the road, but I think our collectibles actually increase just because if we're getting the bill in the insurance in the patient's hands in a more appropriate response time, I think our collectibles go up.
So in here in the highlights, in 2016, we did, 2147 billable runs. In 2017, we did 2,520. In 2016, we averaged $571 per run. And in 2017, it was $444. Nobody knows why we dropped $127 per run. And you take that $127 per run over 2,500 runs, it's almost $300,000. Now, I'm not saying we would have collected all that $300,000, but nobody can explain why the drop in 2017 from 2016. I think if we had a billing firm, they'd be able to lock that down immediately. What's the drop? Why are we losing, $127 per run? So I'm not a professional in it. I know how to code, but I don't have the answers for, why we're $320,000 potentially short from 2016 to 2017.
And the thing is, with a billing firm, you have consistency, that they're getting those out into the payment system. Ours, if you take a spot in time in our billing system, if you're 8 weeks behind, 12 weeks behind, you take a spot in time, it's like, that can skew your collectibles. Because at any point in time where we don't have a consistency as far as how we're turning out a bill into the system. Whereas with this system, going private, we'll know exactly what's going on with as far as our collectibles. If I were to run a report now, and 3 months from now, they could say totally different things, but it all depends on how fast you're getting those bills out into the system. You're getting them filed with it, the insurance, the collectibles. It's like you run report where you're, say, 6 weeks behind, and all of a sudden 3 months, you say, okay, I want to see where I'm going. And all of a sudden you're 12 months behind, but those data collections can be skewed based on how fast you're getting those ambulance bills filed with this insurance. And it's basically getting them filed with insurance, getting that through the insurance system, and then getting that bill to the patient responsibility. And that's the thing that really concerns me, is that it's not only that we're lagging in getting those bills to the primary insurance carrier, but it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, how many months after the fact is the patient getting a bill for their responsibility? And we want to get that as close, obviously, to the ambulance call time as possible.
That's incredibly annoying to people. Well, and
Go ahead.
I met with the chief today and asked pretty much all these same questions, and he also pointed out how they're going to take all the phone calls, and the questions, and all those type of things too, which I think is an asset. I've seen this process for many years around here, and it's an overwhelming task for a person to do, where I think this company is going to provide that consistency. And I'm in favor of this, and I'll make a motion to approve this.
I got a question before, and I'm also in favor of it. I just want to ask a couple questions. The first one is, I'm in favor of outsourcing. I just got questions about how we came to the staff recommendation. And one is just, as far as references go, did we talk to others? I know we got the list of who they work with, but with this, I feel like it's something that we would definitely want to make sure that we got right. Did we talk to other cities and see how they felt about the different?
Yeah, I did. As you see, we got 3 proposals, and Andres was by far the best proposal. I mean, 4.5. One wanted $30 per run, which was higher than the 4.5%, and they also wanted us to download and send them our pre-hospital care reports, and that's timely. And that kind of defeats the purpose. LifeQuest was, I believe, 6.5%.
No, 6.5.
Something like, so it's almost 2%
So-
cheaper. So, I'm assuming these are like year-to-year contracts where if we're not satisfied with Andres, we can move on to LifeQuest or another, firm and try it. But we did get these 3 proposals. Andres, honestly, in the state, a lot of services use LifeQuest. They are from Wisconsin. Andres is from the Chicago area. But I have talked to departments that do use Andres, and they're extremely satisfied with their service. I know the fire chief from Menominee fairly well, and they use Andres, and they have nothing but praise. It's literally, we review the runs from a member on an EMS run. We review it, make sure it's where we want it to be. And if we don't have any corrections to make on that run, it's as simple as exporting that run right into their billing software. That's all they need from us.
Yeah.
And face sheets. They wanted the face sheets from the hospital with the patient. So they have, if possible, billing information, if nothing else, a social security number where they can begin the billing process immediately as soon as it's exported.
Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to make sure, is that we weren't just going with them at low cost. There's consistency across service, and I read through it, but I didn't see it
do as
All
much.
three proposals were very detailed.
Yeah, they were very detailed. I
What they proposed.
I tried to read through them as much as I could, but that's why I just wanted to talk to you guys, just so you guys could just verbalize that for me
Yeah,
versus me
and
reading 400
we
pages.
met with Andres, they came here, we met with them, sat down with them, asked them, it was about an hour and a half meeting where we kind of went through the whole scenario of like, can we get this, can we get that, what's their procedure, so I feel very comfortable with them. I mean, it's a 1-year contract, with, you can go 2 years and there's a 60-day, either party can, so if we're not happy with them, it's not like we're locked in. If we don't get the service we want, but I feel confident that we will. I mean, obviously they're in the business of
Right.
doing that, but if something went down the road where we're not happy with what they're doing or how they're treating our customers, because they are our customers, it's something that, we're not locked in long-term, that we could reevaluate and make a change down the road if that, circumstances justified that. Obviously with our current software, what is it,
Image trend?
Image Trend, of which the guys use to enter, the fire department uses to enter all the information. They're compatible with that. All they do is export that data. We say it's ready to bill, export that data, and it's in their hands, and within 3 business days, they will get that bill into the payment system.
Okay.
And all three companies offered, we try to, with in-house billing, we try to write reports that are accurate, that are detailed, narratives that are well-written. I mean, it just helps in collections. And so we do in-house training on what needs to be in a report. All three companies are willing to send up a representative to do the same thing with all three crews on what they need in a report to capture the most money for a billable run. Instead of us trying to do it, they'll come up and train with all three crews. It's to their benefit
Right.
to have a well-written report, a well-documented report, so they can bill at the highest level possible. And then the higher they bill, the more money they collect, the more money we collect. So instead of me doing the report writing classes, we could have Andres Billing come up
Right.
and do a report writing class.
Okay. Yeah, those are just a couple questions I had, so I'll second them.
Answer my own question.
So Shane made a motion, you seconded it. Any further discussion? on the
Yeah,
motion?
you bet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whether it's Tim or Chief, as far as the percent that they gave us, 4.5 is pretty decent comparatively to LifeQuest. LifeQuest has been in the game for quite a while. They're I guess the trendsetter. But LifeQuest also, I looked at the proposal. For whatever reason, I don't have a proposal for the third one. I don't know why that wasn't emailed out. But as far as LifeQuest for the collections, they're going to get 24.5% or something around there, whereas Andres, it's 4.5 across the board. My concern is that potentially is there going to be a bait and switch type of thing after a year? They're going to say, listen, we've from the first tier, which is usually 0 to 30 days, we're having fine with that, but you guys have got a large population that's 90 days over, and that's also going to collections, and we just can't. We're losing money that way. So is that a possibility that they're going to come at us and try and renegotiate?
Basically, the difference between LifeQuest and AMR is AMR is like they're saying we're 4.5%. They give us basically, and it's up to us. They customize our collection procedures to what we want to collect and stuff like that. So basically, when it comes to where they deem it uncollectible, they turn it back to us, and we can turn it over to whatever collection agency or whatever procedures we want to do. Where LifeQuest is 6.95% for the basically same billables. We currently use LifeQuest for our outstanding. So that's where that 24% is that when it gets to that point where they deem it uncollectible, they're basically acting like a collection agency. So that's where at 24%. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to AMR, once we determine it's uncollectible, they'll turn it back to us and we'll choose the collection agency of our choice to go and pursue those and stuff like that. And so we'll kind of try to do that as much as in-house as possible through the TRIP program and things like that. And then we'll obviously engage a collection agency for any of those that we want to turn over to that. So that's the difference between AMR and LifeQuest. So LifeQuest is going to take the whole process from beginning to end, Whereas AMR is gonna be like, okay, once we've deemed it 120, 180 days, they're gonna say, okay, now it's yours, and then we'll pursue it from there. In which we'll probably engage a collection agency or some type of program like
You
that.
probably know better
through
than I do, but that isn't a huge,
No.
we're not, you get to
We
that point,
currently
we're
use
not-
LifeQuest right now, and we don't, once we turn it over to them, I mean, by the time it goes through the insurance, patient responsibility, goes through, it's the collectibles at a point, right now, we're at about 6% uncollectible after we write off Medicare and things like that. So once you kind of get it to that stage, there isn't a lot of, you know, opportunity there to collect from these, because obviously the person, obviously you can't afford it at that time, and so it kind of goes through the system, so.
Yeah, long story short, I guess I appreciate that you answered my question. I guess the ultimate answer that I was looking for is that EMR doesn't provide collection services. That's
No.
why we don't see that fee associated with on
Correct.
on the
Yeah, that'd be correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the term of engagement, you still have to negotiate a contract, but is it a 1 year on the,
Yeah.
on
Yes.
all of them that
And we,
give us proposals?
yeah, and we discussed that we could do 2 years, and their whole thing is like they have a 60 day out, you know, basically.
Just to
where-
protect ourselves, I think on
Yeah.
the question of whether or not there's a bait and
Yeah,
switch
he's-
involved down the line, we
Yeah.
want to make sure we've got a deal for a while, not just we get into
And-
them and then they realize, oh.
Right,
we-
and there's multiple building services out there that if we ran into that, we weren't happy that, you know, we could review this in a year, 2 years, obviously. I mean, it's a competitive market.
Right, and I think
for the
their
most
rate
part.
was
It's
based
that
off of
if
what
we're
we
not
built,
happy.
so they're happy with the, 2.5 million almost we billed in
Yeah.
2017, and they're banking,
Yeah.
that our run volume's gonna stay the same. They're gonna
Mhm.
collect what we were collecting, and so that's why they could go with that 4.5%.
Yes, I echo that. It's like, I think based on our run volume and what it is that we're an attractive client to them, that's why the 4.5%. And like I said, it's like, I asked them about the type of reports we can get. Basically, we can request any type of data we want, so we'll be monitoring this to make sure that, our collectibles, we have history of what we collect. So we'll have that gauge. And so in the next year, 2 years, we'll be monitoring that to make sure that they're doing whatever. But obviously, when it's 4.5% of what they collect, they're motivated to get that out into the system and collect,
They've also promised we could run our own reports, we could have
Yep.
access to the
Yep.
software. But if we request a report, I think he said we'd have it in
Yep.
that day yet, so I don't think we're gonna become familiar with their.
Okay. Lee?
Thank you. One, I'm not in favor of this, but I do have a couple questions. We look at different hospital billings and different people that have miscellaneous billings, and we're doing a billing with one person. Does anybody not see the issue there? I mean, we've gotten ourselves to a point where we have to service out this because we can't handle the load, but my question is, and this goes for all the department heads, is we really have to take a good look at what we're doing to say, is this working or not working? We run ourselves to a point where we have one person doing billing, that person goes on vacation, we fall 12 weeks behind. I mean, it's kind of a system problem, and it's unfortunate because we ultimately have to pay for an outside service to come in and do this work that we currently used to do inside. Now, whether it's appropriate or not, I mean, obviously, we're at a point where we have to do it. It's just unfortunate that we got to this point, that we've run ourselves to such a minimal crew, or that we hadn't pointed this out in the past, and maybe we have, but I look at additional training. I mean, I notice that all around the city is that when I talk to people, I'm like, do we go to extra training? Do we go to extra training? This other training's available, and yet and I'm not just pointing out fire department as far as the medical change of laws and that kind of stuff, but we just don't take advantage of the available schooling we have out there.
Well, Diane has every year, I used to do a certified bill, and I did the coding, and when I became interim chief, it's too time consuming for me, especially when we went to the web-based, the program is just slow. So Diane is a certified coder. I'm not gonna get into other details in this, but Diane has gotten appropriate training, and she is.
But it's only one person.
So
So that's
one
what I'm going
person,
back to.
I'm not gonna go any deeper into
No, and
what.
And that's fine, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I want everybody to take a really good look at this and say, really, we have one person handling our billing, and if that person goes on vacation, we're sitting behind the 8 ball. That's, I guess, a little bit more my point. Not that I disagree that we have to go to this, and we should go to this. I'm just saying that we have to, around the city, I mean, we're hiring out services all the time. And I would say with the laws change, I know the mayor goes through a lot of training, so you have to learn what constraints you have, right? Every year, there's new municipalities or new laws that come out for what municipalities can do. I mean, there's certain things that you have to learn. So I don't think it's out of our realm to have people learn this stuff. I just think that if we're running a minimal crew, everybody should be taking a look at why we're hiring all these services out. And I'm not speaking to this, and I'm not speaking to your department. I'm just saying in general, this is a general comment. It's just unfortunate that we have to hire out all these services because we just don't have the manpower to do it, or we lack the training, or we lack the ability to train people. And once again, not that the training wasn't there, it's not that she isn't certified, it's not, I guess I'm just making more of a point that we have very capable people in this community, and there is new laws that come out, but these people learn the new laws with the training. And it's, like I said, I'm not saying we shouldn't go to this, and I agree with you, everything you said makes sense, and it's just unfortunate, that we're hiring services out all the time.
And we did talk to Andres about that, when Diane retired, what would our options be to replace her? And we'd really have to go and recruit from pretty much a billing company and try to draw somebody from there to our.
We won't for 54,000.
Sometimes I think.
Well, it's such a specialized
Yeah.
training. I mean, that's my concern from the collection side of this. It's like, when we had a retirement in my department, we brought someone on, we trained, it's like that, but it's so specialized. It's hard for me. I don't understand it. What the Medicare, Medicaid laws. It's like basically to really do this properly. I would have to go to training. We'd have to have finance specialists in my department go to training. Scott would have, on the Medicare laws and the collection side. And it's just, and when it comes to the cross training, it's just like when that person leaves, it's like having that person step in. And it's not one of those things where if you don't do it every day, to have someone step in and get a Medicare explanation of benefits and know exactly legally what the patient responsibility is. Because when you get a Medicare bill, it's like they pay this, but there's a portion you have to write off legally that you cannot collect from the patient. And those are constantly changing. And this is one of those things where it's very specialized. The complexities of what the Medicare, Medicaid laws are, I feel comfortable that it's like if, we're subject to, if Medicaid or Medicare came in and audited us, that we could face very stiff penalties if all of a sudden we billed someone that they weren't entitled. Basically, someone.
No, I completely.
And I'm just saying, this is one of those instances. I think it's like it's such a specialized thing that it warrants that we looked at it from a cost standpoint. It's like. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Because ultimately, even if that person got trained, we still never had anybody to replace. So that we never had that turnover of people. And like I said, in typical billing services, whether it's for a hospital or whatever medical services are needed, it's a team. It's a network of people, and it's a team, and we have one.
A couple quick comments. They've stated a couple of points, so I won't restate them, but I think this is a case in point where it is far more cost effective for us to contract this service than it is to perform it in-house. It took us at least 10 years to arrive at this conclusion. We do have 2 people that currently are involved in this aspect of EMS billing, and it's frankly not lucrative. If we can save our residents or perform a service at far less a fraction of the cost and be much more effective and perform a better service, as any of us that would take a ride in an ambulance, unfortunately, I don't want to get a bill 3 months after that ambulance trip. I want to get it as soon as the insurance companies divvy their portion out and then my patient responsibility shows. So we have an opportunity to improve our service to our residents, to do it far cheaper and more cost effective and ensure more accuracy, and ultimately, potentially, raise our collections up a tick. So I think it's a no-brainer. We do have the staff. I think, if it made sense and it was lucrative or advantageous for the city to stay in this business, we wouldn't be here tonight. And so I appreciate the concern about why don't we have more people doing this. Well, it's a question of what would you rather have costs, your tax dollars spent on, or ambulance collection revenue spent on, the billing services, or actually performing and keeping our staff up to date and making sure that our services are maintained at a level that's most effective. So.
And not to cut you off, sir, but I would definitely not agree with you. The fact that this is what I'm saying is that there's more people needed for positions to make sure that we support the services provided. That's my concern. And like I said, not saying anything about, the police chief or the power, or the fire chief, or any other services that, I'm just saying, if we dwindled our staff to a point that we're stuck hiring things out, and I'm not just talking here, I mean, we're hiring out a lot, and not that I don't disagree with it, I think the 4.5% is good, and that, like the mayor had mentioned, was that this is cost effective, I'm just wondering.
So I mean, I look at it as, I mean, you don't want to outsource, you know, like have private firefighters showing up, right, or anything like that. But some things, and I don't have a side-by-side comparison, so I don't know in this case. But I would assume it's probably more cost-effective for the taxpayers to have something like this rather than, you know, like add a position. Yeah. So.
I think it was lucrative to do your own in-house billing. You'd see more cities
Right,
doing it.
right.
You just don't. As far as I know, and don't hold this, the only city I know of, a career fire department that provides EMS transportation that does in-house billing anymore is Anago. Everybody else contracts it out. Efficiency, customer service, I mean, that's our biggest complaint we get right now is on EMS billing. And it's nothing to do with Diane. You're getting a bill, you're not happy. So if you're not getting it timely, it just adds to the aggravation, and so.
And I totally get Lee's.
Yeah.
I totally get you, but I mean, it's just kind of the nature of things nowadays. I mean, unfortunately, it can be cheaper to outsource. You know, it sucks, but I guess that's just the age that we're living in. So there is a motion and a second to approve the contract with Andres Medical Billing. Is there any further discussion?
Is it a 1 year or 2 year?
We didn't specify, I don't think, did we?
Someone mentioned one a couple times.
I would like to do a year to see how it goes the first year. I would like to
We could
then.
do a 2 year
what-
with our option to
Yeah.
opt in the second, maybe.
To be clear, we're looking to start when this is, as soon as we can with this. When we're back into July yet for billing. When we sign with Andres, they would come back, and any bills that haven't been sent out yet, they'll start like September 1, even though we signed the contract October 1st. They will come back and begin billing at that point for us, as long as we haven't sent bills out.
Yeah.
Once we get.
As soon as we file with the insurance company, they don't like to assume those because it gets complicated, so basically if this were approved, we would pretty much have a cutoff date where they'd go back and then we can import the information in their billing system and.
How do you get the insurance to move along?
Well, no, that's why they don't, you know, once.
A 1 year with an option to opt in for a second year if in fact
Yeah,
there's satisfaction.
we can do a 2-year with them. It's like when we discuss it with them, it's like they have like a 30 or 60 day, I can't remember which one it is, where either party can opt out of it, so.
But I think go back to Michelle's point is that you have to change the motion.
Yeah.
Make an
Yeah.
amendment to the motion.
Do you want
So
to
we do a 1 year. and
Okay, I'll amend my motion for a 1 year.
Second that one, okay. Motion and second then to enter into a 1 year contract with Andres Medical Billing Limited. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Touch my screen.
I know.
Why is it not working?
I always do that too.
Agenda item number 4, review and consider for approval a resolution amending the 2018 budget.
Okay. This budget amendment is, as of July 1st, obviously we went from self-insured to fully insured, and then that resulted in a 4% premium increase. So basically, this is adjusting the operating budgets to account for that 4% increase. So basically, we're transferring out of contingency into those operating budgets that cost differential. The second part of the budget amendment is that we do this periodically throughout the year. We get in revenues from grants or whatever that weren't anticipated at the time the 2018 budget was adopted. So we'll get in like the Legacy Foundation as far as the grant for the hybrid detective position. We get that in. So basically we're appropriating that over to the expenditure line item to account for that. And the third item is if you remember when we adopted the 2018 budget, we had a $6.3 million note issue in there for certain projects. And when we went through and kind of analyzed after the fact, after the budget was adopted, we didn't do some of those projects. So basically I'm amending the budget to account for that reduction in the note issue for those projects we're doing. That being the phase 2 of the East River Bank project, the overlook on the East River Bank and the aquatics. So that basically reducing that bond issue in the budget from 6.3 million to 2.1 million. And so that this basically is reflected in this resolution. So any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Is it, there's not a number, or is that Roman numeral 20?
Oh, I never know what resolution is
Yeah.
on, so I always put.
I've read that. I was trying to be funny. I failed. Any questions? Okay, I'll make a motion then to approve the budget resolution to the 2018 budget as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to approve the budget amendment. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Agenda item number 5, beverage operator license applications. I think we all reviewed them.
Yep.
I'll make a motion then to approve the license applications as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Agenda item number 6, consider approval of a Class B liquor license and Class B beer license application submitted by Ida's Incorporated, doing business as Ida Sports Bar and Grill, Robert Schultz agent, for the premises located at 1981 Lincoln Street, Wisconsin Rapids. And
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Motion and second to approve the application. Any discussion or comments?
Mr. Schultz is here. I don't know if you wanted to tell everyone what you're doing, what your plans are.
Nothing's gonna change, it's just gonna stay like
Okay.
it is.
Let the money roll in? Keep
Why,
the
there's
business
something
going.
that's working.
Keep the good food out.
Good fish fries.
Yeah, there. Gotta get there early though.
Yep, gotta get there early.
Okay, there is a motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 7, audit of the bills for August 2018. They are in the packet, although I must have missed it. I know it was sent out last week, but I just got it today, or I don't know what happened. Operator error. Second time I heard that today.
I'll make a motion to approve. If the room stands out, that would be of concern.
I'll second your motion. Is there any questions or discussion on bills? There's a motion second to approve. Do you want a minute yet, Shane?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item number 8, set next meeting date.
It'll be October 2nd, first Tuesday.
First Tuesday, okay. I don't have any conflicts at this time.
I don't either.
First Tuesday's always open on my calendar.
Okay. 5 o'clock, October 2nd. Item number 9, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Sub A, in closed session, the committee will discuss negotiations and strategy related to acquisition of properties in the downtown area. Sub B, the committee may return to open session and take action or make recommendations regarding item 9A, or may adjourn in closed session. Someone wants to make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to go into closed session. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0 and we'll be in closed session.